April is the month of change. We have a stellium of planets in Aries urging you to start new projects, assert your independence, and go fast, while Uranus, the planet of revolution and transformation, enters Gemini for the next 7 years, beginning a major karmic cycle. Let's take a closer look and break this down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I am a traditional Western astrologer and astrology teacher. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Get warmed up by our astrological fire. Stick around if you like my work. If you keep coming back, please show your support by leaving a like, a comment, subscribing, pressing the notification bell. Hype this video, send it to somebody you know and love, help them prepare for April, and share the wisdom of astrology with people you love. You can also say thank you by buying me a tea, a coffee, a croissant, any other token of appreciation. And if you want to work with me, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com. On there, you can book a personal face-to-face reading to discuss your natal chart, your year coming up, your relationships. Solar return is really great predictive chart reading done, best done around your birthday. I can help you elect the important moment for your life-changing event or help you figure out where in the world you should move to. On my website, you can also see the classes I am teaching. The next course, more general, natal astrology, helping you understand yourself and read charts for people in your life. Starts with self-awareness, right? And then everything around you, there's a ripple effect, improving your life. The next course begins in September. Consider joining it. And on my website, you can also find a variety of products I create. Since today we are talking about April and it's Aries season, I'd love to highlight my Exalted Sun candle. This captures the sun in Aries. Brave, it's exalted because the solar energy connected with our sense of self and our identity is consistently updating. Aries is the zodiac sign that questions, who am I? That goes on quests to discover it, and it possesses the vitality, courage, and leadership skills. And if you're seeking some of that, this could be perfect. It's a great spring candle. It smells like blood orange. So highly recommend, especially astrologically recommend this if you are an Aries sun or moon. If you were born with the sun in Libra or the sun in Aquarius, the signs where the sun is in its fall or detriment, if your natal sun is in the 6th, 8th, or 12th houses. And if generally you feel like you could use that Aries spirit of putting yourself first, sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it's important to understand yourself, and Aries is really good for that. So we're going to take a look at all of the transits that are happening in April, and then we'll take the most important ones through all of the 12 signs. You can become a subscriber on my website to get updates, and there's a horoscope subscription that breaks this and so much more for you each month. I write it, and it's based on your unique natal chart, highlighting personal transits. That is on my website as well, anastasiadoesastrology.com. So April brings two lunations. We have the full moon in Libra right at the entrance of the month, and we have a new moon in Aries. And generally, there's definitely a lot of focus on oneself and what you want and what your new beginnings are, with a focus on relationships, making sure that your relationships are A, aligned with where you're going, and B, not sacrificed in the process. We have still some transits early in the month in Pisces, wrapping up that retrograde energy, finding clarity in the Pisces sector of your chart. Lots and lots of energy activations in Aries. Of course, Saturn and Neptune are also in Aries, so while the vibes are strong towards starting new projects, there will be some obstacles, some sacrifices and compromises one will need to make. So beware of that. Venus is supporting the energy of the month until April 24th. She's in Taurus, one of her favorite two signs together with Libra. This can bring more growth in relationships, improvement of your finances, an ability to attract, manifest, and increase abundance in your life. And then later in the month, on the 24th, Venus enters Gemini. On the 25th, Uranus enters Gemini for the next 6+ years, close to 7 years, if you consider the fact that Uranus was in Gemini last year for a few months. And that, of course, electrifies the Gemini sector of your chart, generally speeds your mind, increases the possibilities. There may be strong tension between the opposites. And I'm just doing sort of the most important things, and then we'll go chronologically. And Jupiter is still, Jupiter is hanging in Cancer. Pluto is hanging in Aquarius throughout the month. So let's take a look at this chronologically, right? The full moon in Libra, 12 degrees, 20 minutes Libra, occurs on the first day of the month. April Fool's, new moon in Libra. Sorry, full moon in Libra. It reflects on the new moon in Libra, which we had in October, on October 21st to be precise. And of course, it brings up questions of relationships. The full moon in Libra is a blossoming of something in your life, or a fulfillment of a potential that you're letting go to open yourself to something better. So if you're single, the full moon in Libra can bring a new relationship. If you're in a relationship, it can bring commitment, or it can bring an opportunity to maybe let go of a relationship that does not satisfy you. The ruler of the full moon is Venus in Taurus. So it's more likely to be perceived as happy, as joyful. Venus in Taurus wants to have relationships that are nurturing, that are stable, that are reliable, with people who you can trust, and people who support you and you support them. So I think this full moon very much offers you a chance either to make improvements to the existing relationships or figure out what is it that you're trying to accomplish. My t-shirt is actually a Libra t-shirt. See? A little Libra. It's honoring my rising sign. And of course, this full moon will be most important for people with placements between 9 and 15 degrees of the cardinal signs, Libra, Aries, Cancer, or Capricorn. On the 3rd of April, we get the third and final Mercury-Jupiter trine. Expect good news. It is a finally direct Mercury trining, finally direct Jupiter. We had a Mercury-Jupiter trine on February 16th, and that was Mercury direct Jupiter retrograde, and then another one on March 9th, and that would have been Mercury retrograde and Jupiter retrograde. And so this one on April 3rd is actually both planets direct. So if you had a storyline at February 16th, 2 days before, 2 days after, and March 9th, 2 days before, 2 days after, rings a bell in your head, perhaps maybe early in like mid-February, you submitted an application to get a scholarship. In March, you had to rethink something, redo some paperwork, revisit the topic. And now in April, that process continues and you move forward and you get good news. This transit is really great for setting on a journey, planning travels, getting involved in education, teaching, studying, political matters, religious matters, any ways in which you can empower your community can be highlighted here, and you can expect good news and opportunities to network and socialize with people. We have a bit of a challenge for relationships on Friday, April 3rd, 3 days before, 3 days after, as Venus squares Pluto. And so that's interesting because this energy on some level is also captured in the full moon. Venus in a square to Pluto can highlight power struggles, tensions in relationships. Anything that's not resolved will come into the open and encourage you to go through this deep cleaning, right? You can be proactive about this transit, and you can literally, go through like a shamanic experience, do, I don't know, ayahuasca or try like couples therapy or something. There's a way in which you can be like, well, if it's going to be an intense time, let me embrace intensity. And if you're less aware, if you're kind of, Venus and Taurus can be too possessive, too controlling. So if there's anything in which you are not being flexible and you're being stagnant, Venus square Pluto can bring that out into the open. It can also be a really creatively powerful time where the old ways of doing things die and the new ways get reborn. On April 5th, the Sun squares Jupiter, generally quite a positive time for socializing, for starting projects, working on projects, but there is a tendency to overdo it, to do too many things, to be a little bit too jolly to a point of overspending, overpromising, letting your words take you to a place where you cannot deliver. So watch out for that, for like overindulgence, overdoing it. Moderation is what's going to help you. April 8th, Mars sextiles Uranus. 4 days before, 4 days after, you are desiring fun and excitement, and this is a great transit for experimenting at work, experimenting in your exercise routine, doing something else, perhaps even challenging yourself a little bit, taking risks, right? Taking risks, experimenting in your work, in your fitness, in the bedroom, in relationships. And you may also be a lot more aware around this time of what is feeling restrictive versus what and who is supporting your independence and your creativity. Mars enters Aries on April 9th, will stay here until May 18th. This is a powerful position for Mars. This is Mars in its domicile. Really potent, assertive, brave, quick, and, happy Mars, spontaneous Mars. However, on April 13th, 4 days before, 4 days after, Mars will conjoin Neptune. And then shortly after that, on April 19th, Mars will conjoin Saturn. So if it was just Mars and Aries, it would have been like, okay, you're just going and you have a burst of energy and you're willing to take risks and all of that kind of stuff. However, the fact that Mars conjoins Neptune on April 13th and then Saturn just a few days later suggests that there are potential challenges to this, to put it lightly. So with Mars conjunct Neptune on the 13th of April, 4 days before, 4 days after, there could be a negative manifestation of this where you are maybe a little bit delusional. You are operating under an ideal that is not realistic and you're acting rashly. Let's say somebody smiled at you and you imagine that they're in love with you and you build them a boat and they're like, well, actually I'm afraid of water and I don't want to go on this boat. So there may be a little bit of tendency to over idealize things. There might also be a tendency to feel a little bit helpless. If you lean into spiritual pursuits, if you use this energy to help people in need, let's say your love interest doesn't take the boat, you build them. Maybe it's a wooden boat or a raft, and you donate this to children and to children's charity. So it really could be a very good transit for spiritual inspired work. You just have to keep one foot on the ground. Otherwise, you might get disappointed. And the fact that Mars goes on to conjoin Saturn on the 19th of April, that can very much be you want to press the gas, you want to go, go, go. And instead, you run into a wall, you run into a problem. And the best way to deal with this is to actually take a step back and rethink your strategy so that you can build your energy and enthusiasm and then go for it. Again, exalted Sun or Mars and Scorpio candles can help deal with some of this frustrating energy because exalted Sun is the Sun in Aries. It doesn't have Saturn or Neptune. And Mars in Scorpio is a powerful Mars that also doesn't need to contend with Saturn or Neptune. As we're dealing with some of this over-idealism and confusion, on the 13th of April, Venus also sextiles Jupiter. So somewhere in your chart, things are going to go well. And give it 3 days before, 3 days after. I think you may experience Mars as more frustrating if you have planets, if you're like a very cardinal person, kind of placements in early degrees of Aries, Capricorn, Libra, and Cancer, versus that same time might be a lot easier, more joyful for you if you have planets in fixed signs with Venus and Taurus, right? So we're thinking Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius. And Jupiter will try to help out as much as it can. So Venus sextile Jupiter is a positive time for moving relationships forward, growing your business, socializing, making investments, making financial decisions. On the 14th of April, Mercury sextiles Uranus can bring flashes of insight and opportunities to come up with new ideas, reach out to people, express your originality, and get it received with recognition and warmth. Mercury also enters Aries. Finally, we've had Mercury in Pisces all throughout February, all throughout March, and the first 2 weeks of April. So on the 14th, Mercury enters Aries. We'll be here for about 2 weeks until May 2nd. Mercury in Aries is direct, straightforward. What you think is what you say. There's no confusion. Watch out for being too blunt, too direct, too forceful, to a point of frustrating people. But use this also for expressing your ideas in bold and courageous way, right? Could be good. On the 16th of April, Mars sextiles Pluto. So we kind of do have a positive Mars aspect in between the more challenging conjunctions to Neptune and Saturn. Always give Mars aspects 4 days on each side. Mars sextile Pluto can increase your desire to win, increase your endurance and stamina and focus. And so this is a good time for taking a lead on a project, for asking someone out. Professional pursuits could be highlighted around this time, where your determination, perseverance, and diligence can pay off quite a lot. Mercury conjoins Neptune on the 16th of April, so potentially connected with April 13th, and may bring up conversations about some delusional actions you took earlier on the 13th of April. Or can also, again, like encourage you to pursue these spiritual conversations, spiritual goals. On the 17th of April, we get the new moon in Aries. This is quite good if you don't think of Mars ruling the new moon conjoining Saturn. It's so interesting, right? The new moon in Aries is about new beginnings. It's about new beginnings that involve you and your identity. And the ruler is Mars in early degrees of Aries conjunct Saturn. And so while for some this may manifest as perhaps sadness over the old sense of self having to be released, over some obstacles or some even confusion where you don't yet know where you're trying to go, for others this will be a really great opportunity to completely reinvent yourself. If you're letting something go, it also means that you're setting down the weight you've been carrying behind your back, over your shoulders, right? And that allows you to kind of review what's worth your time and your attention and energy. And like, you don't have to be who you think you are. Aries is spring. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's all about new beginnings. So who are you going to be? Let me know in the comments below. Or book a reading. We can talk about this and many other things in person. Mercury sextiles Pluto on Saturday, April 18th. That is a sign of deep intuition. Maybe you're having conversations that bring you closer to other people. Could be good for writing, study, research, investments potentially too. April 19th is maybe the most frustrating day this month. 4 days before, 4 days after is Mars conjoined Saturn. Mars is your go button. Mars is your gas pedal. Saturn is your brake pedal. So if you try to push really hard around this time, if you try to go really fast, you run the risk of injuring yourself, breaking things, and getting put in your place. if you instead, as mentioned, take a step back, rethink, come up with a strategy, use the diligence, the discipline, the slow and steady energy of Saturn to harness and to kind of whip Aries into shape without breaking it up, breaking it apart, then it could be the time of, transmuting this energy into achievement. But it could be frustrating. The Sun enters Taurus on April 19th, will stay here until May 20th. Taurus season, the middle of spring. Love is in the air. In Taurus, the energy changes to that of more like methodical, on a conscious level. We're seeking stability, wealth, abundance, and so we're like moving slowly and steadily, and maybe are a little bit more conservative in the way we think of like family, money, love. On the 20th of April, Mercury conjoins Saturn, so similar energy to Mars just a day earlier. Mercury also conjoins Mars, so we have this triple or even quadruple conjunction if you bring Neptune in the mix, between Mercury, Mars, Saturn, and Neptune. All of that continues to reactivate Saturn-Neptune conjunction from February. All of that is maybe allows you a chance to rethink where you're being too forceful, too rash, too reckless, and figure out how to think more critically about things, how to approach frustration, how to express frustration, instead of, again, like fighting, pushing yourself too hard, breaking things. Maybe find a way to like go running or rowing or doing something physical that is not too like fast or too heavy. Don't push yourself too much around this time. April 23rd, Venus conjoins Uranus, bringing change and excitement to your relationships. If you're single, good time for starting a new relationship with someone unusual. If you're in a relationship, you may be drawn to try a new activity together, try something new in the bedroom, have fun. Creatively, you can feel really inspired, and in beauty and style, there may be new opportunities to do things differently. From 24th of April, we have these two interesting shifts, one of them being one of the biggest ones this year. So on the 24th of April, Venus enters Gemini, the goddess of love in Gemini. For the next 3 weeks until May 18th, you'll be drawn to 2 weeks and a half, right? Almost 3 weeks. You'll be drawn to, what is it? 18 and 6, 24. 3 weeks, 21. Yeah, 3 weeks plus. Now that we've figured that big issue. In Gemini, you're curious, you're like a sapiosexual, right, is the word, when you're attracted to the person's intellect. You're more open-minded, you're more sociable, chatty, communicative, and you attract and you seek those partners too that represent similar energy to you. Someone who can stimulate you mentally is important. And then, of course, on the 25th of April, Uranus enters Gemini to stay until August 2032. We've had a preview of Uranus in Gemini between July 7th, November 7th last year. Uranus in Gemini is innovative. It is revolutionary, especially in regards to communication, in regards to writing, transport, technology. So we can expect major developments technologically, socially, in writing and publishing. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of this with AI being involved. People talking about AI writing scripts for some of the networks, and how might that affect us, right? So Uranus and Gemini will bring these powerful leaps of technology and progress, but it will be up to us how to narrow it down and how to harness this energy without hurting others or hurting existing means of creativity and people who have rights over certain art projects, right? Which has been the case with AI, just stripping away somebody's intellectual property. So something that we'll be seeing for the next 6+ years. The Sun squares Pluto on April 25th as well, power struggles, challenges, anything that you need to release and transform, anything where you're holding on too tightly to people, to expectations, to your idea of yourself, will be under a review, offering a chance for rebirth for you and your sense of self. On the 26th of April, Venus sextiles Neptune. Dreamy, romantic, sensual, inspired transit. Mercury also squares Jupiter. Watch out for saying things you cannot deliver. Mercury square Jupiter is just so optimistic. If you're practicing moderation, if you're directing this energy to like 1 or 2 projects at a time, that could be good. If you're being cocky and you're saying, I can do this, I can do that, then you'll be more challenged. And finally, on April 28th, Venus in Gemini trines Pluto, and that could be a time of intense passion. It's a supportive transit, so there may be new people coming into your life romantically or creatively that have a karmic pull towards you towards them. There may be new projects that you're getting inspired by, and making decisions that benefit you financially as well. You know, it could be the time when you, especially if your intentions are noble, if you're thinking of perhaps making money so that you can donate a big portion of your earnings to a charity of your choice, then Venus trine Pluto can bring big wins and big profits. So this is it in regards to the big transits, or basically all transits. If you want to know what these transits mean for you personally, if you want to know how your chart gets highlighted each month, which planetary transits ping your placements, become a subscriber on my website. There are a few subscriptions, one that's more general, where you just get general updates every week, a horoscope subscription with personal horoscope, or a VIP where you talk to me once a month and we discuss all of those things. Of course, on there you can book a reading, you can come study with me and pick up my beautiful exalted sun or any other candle. Venus candles could be good for love if you're seeking that. I'm a Libra rising, so I'm always like, I can always have a little bit more beauty and love and and Venus. So we're going to take a look at the 12 signs. I recommend listening to your rising sign because that is the beginning of your chart and it tells you where the rest of the transits falls. You can listen to your sun or moon if you resonate with those more, of course. If you are an Aries rising, March brought a lot of focus to your house of mental health as you faced some of your inner demons. As you let things go, Mercury was retrograde, making you rethink how to perhaps wrap things up as you were entering a new stage of your life. And you could have also gone through professional changes with the lunar eclipse in Virgo, your 6th house. Jupiter went direct in Cancer, your 4th house of home and family, potentially making that sector easier, bringing some clarity and opportunities to move, sell your house, buy property, and connect with family. And then we've had Venus in Aries in your 1st house, maybe encouraged you to have more fun, change your style, dress up, go out. The Sun entered Aries later in the month too, and Venus entered Taurus at the end of the month. And that's where she spends pretty much the first 3 weeks of the month, blessing you with financial opportunities, offering you opportunities to increase your wealth and boost your resources. So April starts off with the full moon in Libra in your 7th house on April 1st. This completes the relationship chapter started in October 2025 and offers important changes. The ruler is Venus in your 2nd house in Taurus. And with Venus and Taurus, you're both focusing on self-worth. There is, I think, a stronger sense of, I deserve this. I deserve to be paid $200 an hour instead of $50 an hour because I have this experience and I offer people this. So there's a stronger sense of self-worth, and that can be represented through the full moon when you ask for more in partnerships, and you know, the sun is in Aries, right? There is a strong focus on identity. The moon is in Libra, and as you are more clear about who you are, it is more clear to change relationships, improve relationships. So as your self-worth grows stronger, your relationships improve, and the relationships that do not support you may need to be released. And Venus in the second house can also suggest that you're really focused on financial stability right now. You want to grow your resources, you want to start a better paying job. And so the full moon in Libra can also be about that, about committing to partnerships that can either boost your self-worth, maybe new partnerships, or letting go of situations, asking for more money, right? But yeah, romantically, because 7th house is the place of romance, there could very much be a release, a change, commitment, and maybe business changes as well. So the sun is in Aries until April 19th. Mars enters Aries, your first house. Your chart ruler comes home on April 9th, will be here until May 18th. Mercury is here from April 14th until May 2nd. And of course, Saturn and Neptune are still hanging out in Aries. So this focus on the question of who am I is so strong all month. The sun energizes you. The sun allows you to be more visible. You're sharing more pictures of yourself. You're going out more. You're teaching classes. You're leading workshops. You're posting on social media more. Mars gives you energy and courage. However, Mars and Mercury, as they enter Aries, they both have to conjoin Neptune and then conjoin Saturn. This will be especially strong from like April 9th as Mars enters Aries, and then until, well, pretty much all month, right? But April 9th and then April 22nd, 23rd as Mars conjoins Saturn. And this might be while you feel ready, while you feel energetic and brave and ready to just go for it, professionally, personally. Neptune might make things unclear as far as like how to get where you're trying to go. It can also make you a little bit delusional, so watch out for that. Beware of idealizing things. And Mars conjunct Saturn on the 19th of April, 4 days before, 4 days after, could highlight your need to take it slow. We actually have a new moon here on the 17th of the month, which is also all about new beginnings. However, these new beginnings need to be, they will require you to move slowly. They will require you to be disciplined. They will require you to make some compromises and sacrifices. Saturn will cool Mars down a little bit and suggest that before you reach success, you may have to face your own fears. You may have to examine your limitations. You may have to sit quietly for a little bit and then figure out how to proceed. Venus in your second house until April 24th, and the sun there from like the final 10 days of the month is quite positive for figuring out better ways of making money, maybe even making investments. You may receive more gifts. You may be feeling inspired to spend money on beauty and improve your style, you know, update your wardrobe. Venus enters Gemini, your third house, on April 24th, and Uranus enters Gemini on April 25th. Venus only stays 3 weeks, some change. Uranus stays for 6.5 years. We've had a preview of Uranus in Gemini between July 7th and November 7th. What this is activating for you is it's basically highlighting your desire for freedom in your everyday life. It might be the time, perhaps even if you look back at July, August, September, October, right? Last year, maybe it activated your desire to be self-employed, to work for yourself. Yeah, there's like a need for freedom. You will be more sensitive to people trying to micromanage you. There may be new skills, new interests, new passions coming into your life. Skills and business opportunities that involve technology, that involve writing, that involve, YouTubing, blogging. Yeah, it's an inspired transit. I would recommend that you build or focus on having a good meditation practice, because the clutter and the noise in your head can be so busy, and the amount of possibilities and opportunities that comes into your life can be so rich and full, to a point that you get overwhelmed and perhaps need to slow down. And if you're seeking more, visit my website to book a personal reading, join one of my classes, and pick up this Exalted Sun candle, perfect for you guys as Aries, strong people. If you are a Taurus rising, March could have been a very social month as you connected with friends, maybe rethought some of your connections, some of your friendships, or have seen older friends, people you haven't seen in a while during the Pisces season and Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Lunar eclipse in Virgo brought opportunities to release your hang-ups in regards to pleasure, let go of control in relationships, maybe even examine your obsessive tendencies and perfectionist tendencies. There was a lot of action in Aries, with Venus and Aries encouraging you to get away, to take a break. Maybe you dated someone, but privately. You could have started a relationship that you didn't feel ready to make public yet. And we also had Jupiter turning direct in Cancer, your third house, which made it easier to communicate, express yourself, build your business, and even study. April begins with the full moon in Libra, your sixth house, on April 1st. We are completing the chapter started with the new moon in Libra on October 21st, 2025. And as the ruler is Venus in your first house of self, you are very much focused on changing your look, having a different style, improving your health, and maybe just generally focused on having more fun in life. And so the full moon in Libra offers you a chance to examine your habits, to let go of self-defeating tendencies. Perhaps you have been consuming too much sugar and you decide to let some of that go. Or you have been working a little bit too hard and you decide to let some of that go and focus on having more, again, sort of pleasure. Romantic relationships may transform as you are reflecting on sharing in relationships and problem solving in relationship. And so questions around who takes out the dog and who does the laundry and who's taking care of what in a relationship may need to be addressed. As well as the full moon in Libra can highlight your professional relationships and encourage you to even have some honest conversations and figure out what you're willing and what you're not willing to accept. The sun is in Aries until April 19th. Mars enters Aries on April 9th and will be here until May 18th. Mercury is here from the middle of the month until the end of the month. And of course, Saturn and Neptune are here. And so while there is a lot of action in your 12th house, there's also a lot of lessons that are represented by Neptune and Saturn. I think generally there will be a strong pull to withdraw. If you had a really busy March, April could be a little bit more quiet. You may be interested in taking nature walks, exercising on your own, taking trips to spiritual places, going to a yoga retreat or something like that. There may be a sense of wanting something new, but also feeling confused as Mars and Mercury conjoin Neptune around April 13th, 16th. And then you may also run into obstacles that are potentially self-imposed as Mars conjoins Saturn, and then the new moon in Aries happens right at the time as Mars conjoins Saturn on April 17th. And Mars conjoins Saturn on the 19th. So like 4 days before, 4 days after, middle of the month. And so I think the new moon here with Mars-Saturn conjunction might suggest that it's a good time for you to examine your spiritual attic and figure out which fears you have, how you might doubt your own courage and your own kind of, 12th house is the things that we don't see in ourselves. So with 12th house and Aries, you may second guess your courage, you may second guess your specialness just by being who you are. There may be certain self-doubt, and Saturn can of course activate that even stronger. And so the new moon in Aries would be a chance to take a step, avoid pushing yourself too hard, avoid even pushing for an answer too hard if you're in therapy or if you're meditation or if you're going to a yoga retreat. There may also be certain obstacles that you're going through with Mars as the ruler of your 7th house of relationships. In the 12th house, there may be obstacles that involve relationships and partnerships, something that involves your partner. And so this new moon in this month really offers you a chance to find courage in instability, find courage in the unknown, and find ways to move through it slowly and steadily. Because we do have Saturn and Neptune in your 12th house for a while. They just entered recently, but they will stay there. Saturn for 2 years, Neptune for 13 years, and there will be tests that you'll experience. And through those tests, there will also be opportunities to shed a lot of things. Like 12th house really offers you a chance to let go of material attachments and figure out spiritual sources of support. So I'd be curious to hear how this resonates for you guys. The beautiful Venus is in your sign. She's in Taurus until April 24th, providing a lot of support. April 13th is really beautiful for beauty, for love, for relationships. Venus in the first makes you extra charming, extra magnetic, extra attractive. Really good time to color your hair, cut your hair, make improvements to your style, get new clothes, start art projects. Really lovely. The sun will also enter Aries it entered Taurus on April 19th and will stay there for about a month. And then the biggest shift of the month is Uranus entering Gemini on April 25th to stay all the way until 2032. So first, Venus enters Gemini, your chart ruler, on April 24th, will stay until May 18th. Venus in the second house could offer you more gifts from other people, more opportunities to spend money or make money through art, beauty, relationships. And then Uranus comes in just a day later, and that is a really big shift. We've had a preview of Uranus in Gemini from July 7th until November 7th, 2025. How has it affected your finances? Uranus here will... So it can challenge your financial stability, right? A lot of these transits, if we're aware of them, if we're living life full of conscious understanding of where we are and what we seek, they may come from you initiating things, right? Uranus in the second, you quit your job and you become a freelance artist. Or if you're less aware, Uranus in the second can make you get fired, and then you have to figure out how to change your finances. But Uranus in the second really suggests that you're seeking freedom. You're seeking independence. You want to be at the forefront of the new ways of making money. You also maybe want to do work that is revolutionary, that is helping other people, that brings empowerment and enlightenment. And in the process, over the course of the next 7 years or so, there may be some shakeups, there may be some instability. But really, if you're willing to take risks, if you're willing to try new things, if you're willing to step out of your fears, 12th house, and go for the dreams that you have, it could be quite a rewarding, powerful period in your life. Share how this resonates and visit my website to become a subscriber to get monthly horoscopes or to book a reading. You can also pick up some of my candles. I have Venus in Taurus, could be great for you guys, and Exalted Sun. Venus in Taurus is I'm almost out, but yeah, check it out. Check out my classes too. If you are a Gemini rising, March brought a lot of rethinking and questioning in your professional sector, whether because you had to deal with a lot more confusion, people acting weird, misunderstandings with bosses, or because you've been just looking at your professional future. simultaneously as the lunar eclipse in Virgo brought changes and opportunities to shed and release and transform your home, family, and living situation. And of course, the two are connected, right? If you're figuring out new professional opportunities, perhaps they take you out of your hometown. And so the lunar eclipse in Virgo offers you a chance to release something or embrace more freedom in regards to your professional movement. Jupiter went direct in Cancer, your second house, and that could be a sign of slow improvement financially and perhaps an influx of new financial opportunities. And then we had a lot of energy most of the month in Aries in your 11th house that could have urged you to network, to hang out with friends, to build new friendships, or to support your existing friendships. Even social media could have been a major place of networking and meeting people. And some friendships you could have started to look at through a romantic lens. Perhaps there was a friend that you looked at and you were like, I kind of like you more than just a friend. As well as opportunities to start projects with friends could have been highlighted. April begins with the full moon in Libra, your 5th house, on the 1st of the month. You are completing the chapter started on October 21st. 2025, the ruler is Venus in the 12th. So Venus in the 12th highlights your desire for peace, your desire to get away, your desire to shed and release something. But ultimately, Venus in the 12th, I think, wants to go on vacation or move somewhere more joyful. And so the full moon in Libra in the 5th will offer you a chance to I think on one hand, rethink which relationships are supportive and which relationships you want to take with you. The full moon in Libra can bring commitment in a relationship. It can bring a change of status in a relationship. It can even bring a birth of a child. And then on the other hand, it could be a chance to complete things and wrap up matters that involve creativity, children, love, that are not joyful and that are holding you back somehow. Because there is very strong focus all month on the Aries sector of your chart, your 11th house, your dreams, your YouTube channel, your role in the collective, your desire to help people. And so the full moon in Libra is very much piggybacking off of that and asking, like, where do you need to create more balance and what needs to be released versus what needs to be recommitted to in regards to parenthood, children, love, and creativity. Aries season continues until April 19th. We also have Mars entering Aries on April 9th, and it will be there until May 18th. Mercury is there, Saturn is there, Neptune is there. All of that is in your 11th house. And so you're very socially focused, you're community oriented, you're interested in meeting new people, starting new projects, venturing on social media, being a leader, right? Mars here is very much a leader, an advocate for others, an advocate for a community. However, Mars and Mercury both have to deal with a conjunction to Neptune and Saturn. And so there may be some disconnect, there may be some delusion going on where you're thinking that all of your friends are going to jump on board and join your YouTube channel, or they will come and be guests on your YouTube channel, and you start to feel like maybe some of it is incorrect and not everyone is as supportive as you would like. And then Mars conjoins Saturn on April 19th, and there may be some harsh realizations and some delays as well. Mars wants to go. Mars wants to start new projects. Mars wants to be free, and Saturn cools that energy down. Saturn slows Mars down, ties it down, and puts it in its place. And amidst all of this, on the 17th of April, we have a new moon in Aries in your 11th house. So it's like, how can you start new projects even if things are unclear, even if you have to take it slow, even if you have to make some compromises? So it's the new moon in Aries is very much an opportunity to reinvent yourself, but you have to go slowly and you have to take it one step at a time. And if there are obstacles, look at them as it's a redirection, it's not a rejection. Venus is in Taurus until April 24th. The Sun enters Taurus on the 19th and stays there for about a month. This is a nice transit. I think it suggests that you are kind of solitary on one hand. You may be drawn to spend time in nature. You're maybe seeking to get away with your partner, book a cabin, or you want to go to a spiritual place on a spiritual retreat. One thing always to mention with Venus in the 12th house is you have to watch out for the relationships that come into your life that feel weird. Relationships that feel like the other person is hiding something, or the other person doesn't want to go public and you want to go public. Sometimes Venus in the 12th draws people into our life that are not so good for us, that are actually dramatic and maybe exciting, but don't have long-term potential. So just be aware of that. I do like April 13th, though, as Venus sextiles Jupiter in your second house of money. So maybe there is some financial reward coming your way around that time. Venus enters Gemini, your first house, on April 24th for about 3 weeks. Uranus then enters Gemini on April 25th for about 7 years. And we've had a preview of Uranus in Gemini from July 7th until November 7th, 2025. Venus here is lovely. Venus in the first house is always the time you're your most charming, most beautiful, most attractive. It's Venus in your house of identity, so you embrace her, you become her. Uranus in the first house can be tricky, but I think the more self-aware you are, the easier it will be to deal with it. So Uranus in the first really suggests a period of reinvention. And I do wonder, what was that July 7th until November 7th period last year like for you? But it's the time you seek freedom. You are willing to take risks. You're willing to present yourself in a brand new light. You're more likely to cut ties with people and situations that are restrictive and frustrating. You're more likely to become Uranus, to become this revolutionary, rebellious, progressive figure. Even your look, you might surprise people by getting 5 piercings and you never had any piercings. The more open-minded you are, the better this transit will go. And here I'm also thinking of paths that involve technology, AI, writing, spirituality, astrology. It's the planet of enlightenment, and you become that planet. So are you gonna heed its call? What are you going to do? Visit my website to book a personal reading to talk about this if you want to know more. You can also join my natal class. It begins in September. Pick up this Exalted Sun candle, great for starting new projects, and say hi. Oh, you can also become a subscriber and get monthly horoscopes from me every month. For Cancer rising, March brought a lot of rethinking, reviewing of your beliefs. During Pisces season, there could have been some adjustments in the sector of education, publishing, maybe rewriting some things. Travel plans could have been postponed or delayed. Legal matters could have been affected with Mercury retrograde. It was potentially the most confusing of the retrogrades. Lunar eclipse in Virgo on March 3rd offered you opportunities to let go of clutter in your mind and in your life, rethink relationships with siblings, rethink your communication, your skills, and your passions. And then Jupiter went direct in your first house on the 10th of March, potentially improving your health, boosting your optimism, vitality, and your sense of self. And we had a lot of transits in Aries in your 10th house, bringing up questions of career and your public life, your purpose. In April, the first transit of the month is the full moon in Libra, your 4th house. It occurs right on April 1st, and it completes the chapter started in October 2025. The ruler is Venus in Taurus in the 11th house. And with Venus in Taurus, you are very kind of focused on your social relationships. You desire ease and harmony with your friends. You may be seeking to express yourself on social media, to start new projects. And then we have this full moon in your 4th house, and I wonder if the full moon really wants you to create more balance internally. So it could be really about processing any unresolved wounds, figuring out what needs to change in your home to maybe allow you to become a social media influencer, or to become this person who's really close with their friends. You can really be, I don't know, opening space, creating a guest room or something because you want to see your friends more. There may also be some changes in your living situation, like moving, selling a home because you're like just seeking to improve your life, and maybe you're moving closer to your friends. It's like an interesting one because it's a full moon in the house of home, family, and living situation, but it's inspired by Venus in the house of friendships and dreams and community. So changing living situation on a quest for better community is what I'm seeing here. The sun is in Aries. Mars enters Aries on April 9th to stay until May 18th. Mercury is in Aries, and we have a new moon in Aries, a very interesting new moon. And the focus is very much on your career. The sun offers you opportunities to be seen as a leader, to teach, to guide, to empower other people. Mars makes you almost more like masculine, direct, assertive in your approach. Mercury suggests more movement, more conversations, messages, presentations, maybe documents you're sending, writing, signing. And the new moon is, of course, a new opportunity to reinvent yourself in the public eye. However, Mars and Mercury both will be conjoining Neptune and Saturn this month between April 9th and April 23rd. And that is tricky. That might suggest that your assertiveness will be thwarted. Your courage will be challenged. And your optimism, this is like proceed at your own risk type of energy. But yeah, your optimism may get confusing because there is this Neptune and Saturn energy, and Neptune can make you really idealistic, but it can also make you a little delusional. And Saturn can slow you down and bring restrictions and delays. And so the best way to handle this is to not get discouraged, but instead keep going, but slowly. Take a step back, rethink, figure out what needs to be compromised, what type of sacrifices you may need to make, and then proceed slowly and carefully. Avoid slamming doors in people's faces and screaming and pointing fingers at them. We have a beautiful Venus transit, as mentioned earlier. She's in Taurus until April 24th. The sun is also in Taurus from the 19th of April until 20th of May. This is a sign of you. It's a good month to go out. It's a good month to connect with friends. It's a good month to venture on social media, start a YouTube channel, start a blog, start a newsletter. Especially around the 13th of April as Venus sextiles Jupiter. Give it 3 days on each side. Your friends are more generous with you. Your friends are more supportive. You may actually even be considering dating a friend or starting a partnership with a friend. Venus enters Gemini on April 24th. Will be here until May 18th. And Uranus enters Gemini on April 25th. Will be here for about 7 years. So Venus in the 12th for 3 weeks is quite encouraging for being more insular, going on trips, going to spiritual places, maybe dating someone quietly and privately. Just watch out that you're not going for people who are too dramatic and uncommittal and toxic for you. There's a little bit of a danger of that. Uranus in the 12th, we've had a preview of Uranus in the 12th between July 7th and November 7th of 2025. Uranus wants to liberate you from things. And in the 12th house, we're looking at fears, bad habits, self-defeating tendencies, self-doubt, lack of love. It could be a lot of things. So Uranus in the 12th comes in and illuminates it through therapy, through an important conversation, through a mental crisis. Hopefully not the latter, but it will will check how self-aware you are, how enlightened you are on some level, right? It will, if you are self-aware, if you're in therapy, if you're doing good work, it can actually empower you to take what you know about yourself and offer it as part of your career. Let's not forget, Uranus will be connecting harmoniously with Saturn and Neptune in your 10th house of career. So it can really be an empowering time for first throwing away old mental health garbage. But also, I think Uranus in the 12th house sometimes will challenge you to have peace in instability, to rely on yourself and to build spiritual practices when material things crumble and cannot be as relied on. Because 12th house is the house of liberation. It is the house where you find enlightenment, and sometimes you have to go through some challenging experiences. So share how this resonates. If you're seeking more advice, visit my website. You can become a subscriber on there to get horoscopes sent to you every month. You can get a reading, book a reading. You can join my upcoming natal class, starts in September, or pick up an exalted sun candle, good for your career sector. For Leo risings, March brought a lot of attention to your houses of personal wealth with the lunar eclipse in Virgo, your second house, as well as your sectors of sharing, inheritance, taxes, give and take dynamics during Mercury retrograde and Pisces season. You maybe paid off some debts or handled some financial matters. We had Venus in Aries, your 9th house, together with the Sun, encouraging you to travel, expand your vision, get involved with teaching, guiding, and empowering other people. And Jupiter went direct in your 12th house, helping you find more optimism, more courage, maybe encourage you to explore some spiritual topics, learn astrology, practice yoga, go to an ashram or a spiritual place. And Venus entered Taurus just a couple of days before the end of the month, your 10th house, bringing blessings to your professional sector and really encouraging you to do work that makes you happy and that has a creative relational aspect to it. In April, we begin the month with the full moon in Libra, your 3rd house, and it brings changes, transformations, endings to your everyday life, your communication, your relationships with siblings, neighbors, your skills and hobbies and interests. The ruler is Venus in the 10th house, so the goal is still to change your work situation or to be seen as more charming, to be seen as more beautiful potentially. So the full moon in Libra could offer you an opportunity to, if we're thinking of changing the work situation to do something that you're more happy with, right, then the full moon in Libra will offer you a chance to look at your skills, look at your interests, maybe take some exams and wrap up some projects, finish some writing projects, even clear the space for what you like to do. If Venus in the 10th house is encouraging you to start painting, then the full moon in Libra could be an opportunity to declutter and find space to have an art studio in, potentially. If Venus in the 10th house is encouraging you to be seen as more charming, more beautiful, more creative, then full moon in Libra in the 3rd house can also offer you a chance to rethink your wardrobe, rethink how you present yourself, rethink how you spend your everyday life, potentially. But I think the goal here is to, on one hand, declutter and let go of things that do not serve you, spring cleaning of sorts. And then on the other hand, to figure out which passions, which hobbies, which interests can serve you best in your professional or personal life. And reflect on October 21st, 2025. That's when we had a new moon in Libra. So that could have been a beginning of the chapter that is now completing. The Sun, Mars, and Mercury, as well as Saturn and Neptune, spend a big portion of the month in Aries. Mars is, of course, in its home sign in Aries. The Sun likes Aries, it's exalted there, and it's in your 9th house, which is also house joy for the sun. And you are infused and inspired to learn, to travel, to teach, to write. You're seeking an adventure mentally, physically, spiritually. There's a new moon in Aries on April 17th, and there's a very much strong desire to learn, to even kind of rethink your beliefs, to find a different place for yourself in the world. However, Mars and Mercury, which have just entered Aries, Mars on April 9th, Mercury on April 14th, will be conjoining Neptune and Saturn between April 9th and April 23rd. And what that suggests is that there may be some confusing restrictions, like you get sick and you have to miss a class that you really were excited about, or some delays, some self-doubt that you need to face and deal with. There may be some obstacles on your path. You had a trip planned, but suddenly you realize that your boss is not going to let you go, so you have to rethink how it's going to play out. So Neptune and Saturn will definitely test you, and they can test your physical vitality because Saturn rules your 6th house of health. They can test your relationships because Saturn rules your relationship house. And ultimately, though, they really want you to figure out a way to move slowly, to be really disciplined, and figure out where do you need to be more realistic. Perhaps there are some compromises that need to be made before you move forward in that realm of education, teaching, guiding, being an astrologer, right? A lot of possibilities. Venus is in Taurus until April 24th. The Sun enters Taurus on April 19th. Stay there until May 20th. This is really beautiful. Venus is happy this month in Taurus until the 24th of April. She helps you be seen as charming and creative, and she can attract support of authority figures. She can attract romance in the professional sector, or romance with someone who is in the position of power. She can also help you manifest your desires. On April 13th, we have a beautiful Venus-Jupiter sextile, especially if your career involves creative, spiritual work. That could be positive at this time. And it doesn't have to be exclusively career. It can also be just about making it easier for you to present yourself in the way that is attractive to other people, so you can gain support, acclaim, and favors of other people. The biggest change happens around April 24th, 25th, as first Venus and then Uranus enter Gemini, your 11th house. So Venus is only here for 3 weeks, but it's still supportive for building friendships, going out with friends, going to weddings, parties, having a good time. Uranus is a big deal. Uranus comes in once every 80 plus years for 7 years. And so Uranus is here for starts on April 25th, lasts until August 2032. And you've had a preview of Uranus in Gemini between July 7th and November 7th, 2025. Uranus here is a revolutionary, a transformative, eye-opening planet. When it comes into your 11th house, it suggests that you are experiencing changes and your friendships are changing. So internally, this can come through as a desire for more freedom, as a desire for relationships and friendships that are more attuned, more aligned with you. Externally, it can show up as a friend acting all of a sudden in a way that you didn't know they could. But really, chances are that the relationship just doesn't fit your path, and so maybe certain friendships will fall off. It can also introduce you to new group projects, to new, more altruistic pursuits, to spiritual or future-oriented type of careers. It can encourage you to start a YouTube channel, to Uranus in the 11th is sometimes a sign that you attract odd people or that you're the odd one. Regardless of that, you can be this outsider or this unique person who draws other outsiders to you. start a YouTube channel, Outsider Astrology or something like that. Yeah, it could be a fun one. I think it just suggests that you're ready for reinvention, and it may be happening in public because it's your sector of friendships and allies. Visit my website to book a reading to discuss this and other transits. Join my natal course, it begins in September, and pick up my Exalted Sun candle or get a subscription. Check out my offerings. For Virgo rising, March was very heavily focused on relationships as you dealt with some rethinking, reviewing, revisiting contracts, having old fights, reopening some old forgotten challenges. With Mercury retrograde and Pisces season and lunar eclipse in Virgo on March 3rd could have offered you a chance to let go of something that didn't serve you, address your health, perhaps digestion matters, definitely came up for me as a Virgo sun, and rethink how who you are fits with your relationships or how your relationships fit with who you are as relationships are growing and transforming, and maybe you're trying to go forward with new relationships, but you're also making sure that you're not sacrificing personal things. But also, yeah, lunar eclipse in Virgo, I think, was definitely a sign of highlighting what does not serve you and letting go of perfectionism, self-criticism, analysis paralysis, all of the unhealthy Virgo tendencies. Aries season highlighted your 8th house of sharing, investments, taxes, partners' money, maybe encourage some honest conversations there. And Jupiter went direct in Cancer, inspiring more forward momentum in your friendships, in your networks, involving projects that involve other people, maybe even bringing new supportive allies into your life. April begins with a full moon in Libra on the 1st, which completes the chapter started on October 21st, 2025, and brings changes to your sector of finances and values. The ruler is Venus in Taurus in your 9th house. Venus in Taurus suggests that you desire to travel, you desire to move, you desire to study, you desire to connect with foreign people. And so the full moon in Libra is asking, well, how can you match your resources to that? How can you pay off any debts? How can you save money aside to buy that apartment in Bermuda and move there? How you can, save enough money to travel more or to get your master's, get your PhD. So the full moon in Libra, I think, very much activates these opportunities to clear anything that doesn't serve or commit to saving for something important for you. The sun is in Aries until April 19th. Mars enters Aries on the 9th for about a month and a half. Mercury is here from mid-month until May 2nd. And of course, Saturn and Neptune are still in Aries. And we get a new moon in Aries. So your 8th house is a hub of activity. And what that means is you are very focused on your agreements with other people. Maybe you are paying off debts. Maybe you're getting loans. Maybe you're applying for mortgage. There could be a lot of, or even if you work with other people, right? It could also be like a busy month of, could you send me this? I will send you that. Just like a lot of things going on. It could also be a busy time when you're paying your taxes, when you're figuring out how to make investments. There are some obstacles here as Mercury and Mars conjoin Neptune and Saturn. That will be between April 9th and April 23rd. There may be some confusion. You are entering in a partnership with someone, and let's say they just promise you something, like you're starting maybe a business partnership with a person, and instead of signing a contract, they tell you, I got you, I'll pay you this much, and then they don't, or you feel like a little bit unsure about things. Watch out for being too idealistic and just letting people walk all over your rights, because Mars conjunct Saturn can be a rude awakening. It could be the time when you realize that you actually skipped a really important step, or you even just realize that you're maybe taken on a debt that's too heavy. There may be some type of like heaviness, and we also have Mercury conjoining Mars at the same time, so harsh words can be exchanged, especially around April 18th, 22nd. So beware, move slowly, look for ways to compromise. This will be the question of the month, the point of the month. Slow and steady compromises help you navigate it. Venus spends most of the month until April 24th in Taurus, your 9th house. The sun is also here the final 10 days of the month. And this is beautiful. This is Venus in her domicile. It encourages you and it brings a lot of pleasure from travel. So maybe you're planning a trip, getting away. It encourages you to study, or maybe learning a language that your partner speaks, or learning a foreign language, or going on a retreat that you really enjoy. You may feel inspired to write. Connections with foreign people can prove extra supportive and lovely and magical. Meeting someone while traveling, moving to be with someone you love, right? There's a lot of possibilities of like love being connected to foreign lands. Venus, the goddess of love, enters Gemini on April 24th. She'll be there for 3 weeks, helping you enjoy your work more, helping you gain favor of people who are in charge, authority figures. The biggest transit of the month, though, is Uranus entering Gemini just a day later on April 25th to stay for close to 7 years. Uranus has already dipped its toes in your 10th house between July 7th and November 7th last year. Uranus wants to free you. It wants to break you out of the mold. It wants to have it's going to electrify your career sector for sure. So it could be, if you're very self-aware, if you're someone who embraces change and you're happy with change, this may be you initiating new projects, starting a business, going off on your own, becoming an astrologer, starting a separate side business. Like, you may be just initiating all of this. If you're less willing to embrace change, Uranus can be very surprising and disruptive. It could suggest that you're entering a 6+ year period in which you are going to be maybe sometimes not very gently directed towards professional independence and freedom. And so if you're at a job right now that you hate, that you are struggling to say goodbye to because it's become too comfortable, be ready for that to be over. And I would recommend that you start looking for new opportunities. And with Uranus in Gemini, we're thinking of like technology, AI, work that maybe is unorthodox, has unique hours, involves you using the internet, like teaching classes on YouTube or teaching classes in different, maybe you're becoming like a yoga teacher who takes people on retreats, and so you teach classes in different locations all over the world. So could be quite exciting. If you want to talk more about this to see how it pings your chart and when some of the important dates might be coming up, book a reading. Predictive reading would be best for that. And you can also join my natal class. It begins in September this year. Pick up your Exalted Sun candle, good for initiating projects, and become a subscriber. There is a lot on my website. For the beautiful Libra rising, Mars brought a lot of attention to your house of health with Mercury retrograde and Pisces season. You maybe had to rethink your habit, your diet, your exercise routine, declutter, problem solve a little bit more. This Mercury retrograde was such a mess in my eyes. So many things that could go wrong just went wrong. The credit card didn't get delivered. The vitamins I ordered didn't get delivered twice. So it's just like I got called to jury duty, but I didn't receive the summons. Everything was just disappearing. But to be fair, I also moved recently, so that probably made things more complicated. So I'm curious if you felt it too. The lunar eclipse in Virgo in March offered you a chance to let go of self-defeating habits, perhaps illuminated your anxiety, your worries, and offered you a chance to approach them through a different lens. That story is not completely done yet, so if you feel like I haven't processed it like that, it might come back again in February next year. And then we had Venus in your 7th house of relationships, the Sun in your 7th house of relationships, Saturn and Neptune there. So you maybe dated more, you maybe went on, maybe you met someone new, or you went on dates with your existing partner, or you wooed yourself and you built a stronger relationship with yourself, or explored business partnerships too. And Jupiter went direct in Cancer in March, bringing forward momentum and professional clarity, ease, and opportunities, thankfully. April begins with a full moon in Libra in your 1st house on April 1st. It completes the chapter started in late October 2025 and brings changes to your identity, to your style, to your health, and self-understanding. We have the Sun in the 7th house. The Sun highlights the focus on relationships. We have Venus, the ruler of the full moon, in the 8th house. Venus highlights your debts, your loans, your sharing and give and take dynamics, the gifts that other people give you. And so the full moon in the 1st is kind of an opportunity to recalibrate and perhaps step away from it and take a moment to honor yourself and what you need, because the focus could be like really, really heavy on connecting with other people, getting involved with other people by, buying a property together, moving in with someone, negotiating with someone. So the full moon really suggests like, okay, take a step back, figure out who you are, question where you're going, and maybe create a little bit more balance. And if sometimes that means saying no to an extra commitment, that could be it. But reflect on what was happening in October 2025, because this could be a completion or a change and transformation there. Maybe you've started taking vitamins, or you started exercising, or you started teaching like me around that time, and maybe now you feel like a fully fledged grown teacher. It's like a very personal full moon, and it could be about health, identity, and changes surrounding that. The Sun is in Aries. Mars enters Aries on April 9th and will stay there until May 18th. Mercury is in Aries from the middle of the month until the end of the month. And of course, Saturn and Neptune are in Aries. There's a new moon here on April 17th. Your house of relationships is on fire this month. You're dating more, you're focusing on your partner, you're negotiating contracts, signing agreements, figuring out how you fit with other people. There are going to be some obstacles and some challenges as Mars and Mercury conjoin Neptune and conjoin Saturn right around the time the new moon happens on the 17th of April. So there may be a sense that your relationship or your partner is going through a difficult time, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and as a result, you have to make some compromises. So maybe you started dating someone and their parent passed away, and you were getting ready to have a conversation about your relationship and where things are going, but now they're so stressed that you don't want to make it more difficult for them, or you don't want to make it sort of, let's talk about us right now. And so maybe you need to pull back and take a step back. Maybe you had a perfect vision of how the relationship should be going, but then Neptune throws a confusing situation into the mix, Saturn throws a delay into the mix, and so you have to review and rethink. And this will, of course, apply to business partnerships, to your relationship with your child, if you have a close relationship, your mother, if your mother helps you raise your child, your nanny, right? There could be a lot of significant one-on-one relationships that will be maybe showing some cracks this month, and you will get a chance to examine which ones can be fixed versus which ones cannot be fixed. But move slowly. Avoid being too like non-compromising this month. Love, love, love Venus in Taurus. She's there until April 24th. The sun is also going to be in Taurus from the 19th of April until May 20. This is beautiful for... So Venus is in Taurus. It's your 8th house. That's a sign that other people are more generous with you. Other people are supportive. You're also maybe getting a tax return. You're getting an inheritance. You're getting a bonus, especially around April 13th as Venus sextiles Jupiter. Could also be a lucky time or a good time to make investments, even buy a lottery ticket, even though it's not like the biggest transit for money, but it could be good. Making some money through selling your old things, a partner experiencing a financial boost and then supporting you, getting you a present that you're excited about. So it could be really fun. Venus enters Gemini, your chart ruler, very important, enters Gemini on April 24th, will be there until May 18th, encouraging you to study. You may find a lot of joy in learning a foreign language, learning about sex, relationships. She will also encourage you to travel, plan travel, and date foreign people or date people you meet while traveling. You're more attracted to people who are well-educated, broad-minded. The biggest transit of the month is Uranus entering Gemini on the 25th of April. It will stay there until August 2032. Inspiring a revolution in your thinking. Uranus here can suddenly inspire you to join some kind of new religion. Or it can inspire you to break away from a restrictive religion, way of thinking, philosophy, people who are trying to tell you what to believe. It can send you on this spiritual quest where you're trying to understand yourself. Travel may come suddenly. You may be entering a period of moving about a lot. New topics of study may get revealed to you. Topics that you want to teach might get revealed to you. It's a really exciting transit, I think, because 9th house is the place of these spiritual quests. And Uranus is the planet that wants to open you up, wants to free yourself from anything that doesn't serve you, wants to send you on this adventure. So could be fun. How did this transit manifest for you between July 7th and November 7th last year? I started teaching astrology and I'm continuing to teach and really enjoying that. I feel like through teaching, I am learning so much more. It's like a whole different layer of astrology. Speaking of which, my natal course, the next one, will begin in September. Consider joining us. You can also book a reading to discuss this and other transits on my website and pick up my Exalted Sun candle. It's really good for your relationship sector. If you are a Scorpio rising, March offered you a chance to reconnect with your joy, to rethink your romantic relationships, rethink matters involving children, rediscover sexual passion, right? As Mercury went retrograde in Pisces, your 5th house, some friendship or social life changes were possible with lunar eclipse in Virgo. Venus, the Sun, Saturn, and Neptune in Aries in your 6th house maybe encouraged some professional changes and opportunities to both find joy in your everyday life and figure out better ways of problem solving and figure out better ways of like dealing with colleagues potentially. Jupiter going direct in the 9th may have offered and brought forward momentum in your education sector and offered you a chance to travel, to maybe handle legal matters, and just brought a little bit more clarity in the terms of your overall life direction. April begins with the full moon in Libra, your 12th house, on April 1st. It completes the chapter started on October 21st. 2025, and it is ruled by Venus in Taurus in your 7th house. So Venus is in Taurus until April 24th. This is a really beautiful transit for relationships. It suggests that you are driven to partner up, You are focused on keeping harmony in the relationships. You're attracting people who are beautiful, good looking, supportive, stable. And so the full moon in Libra on the 1st of April, to me, feels like it's asking you to let go of something that doesn't serve you, because 12th house is the spiritual place and also a dark house. It may hold a lot of invisible self-defeating tendencies and issues. So the full moon might be, okay, what is preventing you from having the best relationship? Are you being too quick to let the person go? Are you being not quick enough to let them go? Are you being too shallow and focusing on beauty too much? Are you being too traditional and focusing on something else too much, right? Do you need to start therapy? In the 12th house, the full moon in Libra can really reveal how your childhood still affects you, how your fears affect your love life, and maybe even how your bad habits affect your relationships. Because, like, you know, in the 12th house, you may be dealing with an addiction or a difficult behavior, and that also brings relationships and compromises your relationship with your partner. So the full moon will be all about clearing the path for better connections, I think. The Sun, Mars, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune are all in Aries. Mars is your chart ruler. It enters Aries on April 9th, stays here until May 18th. Generally, Mars is quite empowered in Aries, and it's also really empowered in the 6th house, which is where Aries is for you, in whole sign. So I think overall, this gives you energy to solve problems, gives you energy to start new projects at work. You have more energy to work in the garden, to rebuild your child's room, to declutter the attic. However, there are some challenges as Mars and Mercury conjoin Neptune around April 13th, 16th, and then conjoin Saturn on the 19th, 20th. You can say this is active all the way from the moment Mars enters Aries on the 9th, and then until Mars conjunct Saturn begins to fade away on the 23rd. And so your chart ruler conjoining Neptune could be a sign of maybe being too idealistic, maybe being a little bit too delusional and expecting to finish this big project in 2 days and committing to something you cannot finish. And then feeling burnt out, getting sick, feeling overwhelmed, feeling unable to do what you set out to do. And of course, Mars-Saturn conjunction right after that feels like this reality check, like a harsh reality check. I think the new moon here suggests that perhaps you need to be realistic. If you run into some kind of obstacle, like let's say you realize that you're not as strong as you were 5 years ago, and that doesn't mean that you're okay, like, you know, you can spiral and be like thinking that you're getting older and thinking that your body will never get in shape or whatever it might be. And instead, perhaps the structure is required. Perhaps the Mars-Saturn connection is about being diligent and steady and stable and sort of focusing on things, right? Because Mars conjunct Saturn can actually energize you to be like a little bit more steady and reliant and self-reliant and focused in your pursuits. So if something feels like a red light at this time, if something feels like frustrating, just take a step back and move slowly. Venus being in Taurus until April 24th is definitely my favorite transit this month because she's in her domicile and she blesses all matters, relationships, any contracts you need to sign, any partnerships, negotiations, really good time. Especially April 13th as Venus sextiles Jupiter. There's like a legal matter you're involved in, or education matter or travel matter. That could be a good time. Give it 3 days before, 3 days after. Venus enters Gemini, your 8th house, on April 24th. Will stay there for 3 weeks, a little bit over 3 weeks. And Venus in the 8th is very much focused on collaborating with other people. For creative individuals, this could be a lovely time to partner up and to create a product that is the union between your ideas and someone else's, and something, magical can be born. It can also be the time when you're feeling more supported by other people, your partner's finances may improve, and you're maybe getting more gifts. The biggest transit of the month is saved for last, and that is Uranus entering Gemini on the 25th of April. Uranus will stay there until 2032. So it's a major, major transit. We had a preview of this between July 7th and November 7th, 2025. Uranus in Gemini is an interesting one because it really wants to liberate you. And it wants, in the 8th house, we're thinking of other people, their resources, what they offer you, your dependencies on other people, your ties to other people. So Uranus in the 8th may bring these sudden twists and turns that will encourage only true connections to make it through. Sometimes Uranus and Gemini in the next 7 years might suggest that, like a family relationship may change. A family member may pass away, and after they pass away, you realize that your family doesn't have as close of a connection. Or you may realize that a certain friendship is not as supportive as you would like. So it's going to, I think, bring more freedom in regards to who you trust and who you rely on. And also will encourage you to embrace new ways of relating, new ways of intimacy and vulnerability. And yeah, what was that period in 2025 like? Do share. And for more, visit my website to book a reading, join my classes. The next one begins in September, and pick up this lovely Exalted Sun candle. For Sagittarius rising, March brought a lot of focus to your home and family sector with Mercury retrograde. You maybe needed to rethink your living situation, revisit some family dynamics, and question what comfort and security really means for you. Lunar eclipse in Virgo could have offered opportunities to release self-defeating tendencies, perfectionist tendencies in your career sector, or let go of a job that doesn't serve you anymore. Venus spent most of the month in Aries together with the Sun, Saturn, and Neptune, which could have offered you opportunities to date and have fun, but maybe suggested some obstacles, delays, and confusion that you had to either live with for now or address as much as possible. Jupiter, your chart ruler, went direct. Hooray! And that could have brought more forward momentum, just generally you feeling like you have more vitality, more sense of purpose, especially after the 20th when Mercury also went direct. And maybe brought financial rewards with Jupiter being direct in the 8th house of shared finances. April begins on the 1st of the month with a full moon in Libra, your 11th house. It completes chapters started on October 21st, 2025, when we had a new moon in Libra. The ruler here is Venus in Taurus in your 6th house. Venus in the 6th house is a very powerful placement because she's in her domicile. She really wants you to do work that is joyful. She's maybe directing you towards work that has healing energy, that works with animals, or just whatever really you enjoy. Venus is trying to make that happen for you. She would also help you have better relationships with colleagues. She can improve your health and just focus on improving the quality of life in general. And so the full moon in Libra in the 11th house refers to that Venus. And perhaps it offers you a chance to reach out to an old friend, reach out to people in your network, send your resumes, and maybe connect with people you once used to work with that can be of service to you, and ask them for help as you seek a better job. There can also be transformations in friendships as you maybe realize that some connections are not healthy for you. Or in new friendships, maybe commitments to group projects as you realize that you've been going to this gym and you've really made a friend with somebody who attends classes with you. So opportunities to clarify friendships, dreams, alliances, and opportunities to commit and improve those as well. Commit to and improve those. The Sun is in Aries until April 19th. Mars is here from April 9th. Mercury is here from April 14th. Saturn and Neptune are here. We get a new moon here. All of that highlights your 5th house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, and children. There is really powerful new beginnings energy here. However, they come with 3 stars, asterisks, read the fine print. But generally, you know, your 5th house is highlighted. You're more aware of what makes you happy. Mars is here. You're more willing to take action, to take risks, to have fun. You're dating more. You're making art. You're going out. You're maybe attracting new people or experiencing pleasure in an existing relationship. However, Saturn and Neptune make things a little bit more complicated, right? As Mars conjoins Neptune on the 13th of the month and then conjoins Saturn on the 19th, your sort of desire to move fast will be contradicted by the confusing obstacles of Neptune and by restrictions of Saturn. So let's say you want to have a child in the 5th house, or you want to move in with your significant other. Neptune and Saturn can suggest, like Neptune-Saturn can be, well, you need to go see a doctor, you need to check whether you're healthy, you need to go through some tests before you have a baby. Or, you know, Neptune-Saturn could be like, well, I want to move in with you and you want us to move in together, but my mom needs my help and I can't really do it yet. So whatever it might be, there will be tests, there will be obstacles, and through them, an opportunity also to get more clear and get more committed. And of course, there's always a chance with Saturn and Neptune that it will test some relationships and make weaker relationships kind of fall off and disappear and dissolve in the crumble. But at the same time, it can also be a positive opportunity to like recommit to what's important. And if your child, your partner, your relationship is going through a bit of a rough patch, if there are a lot of tests, once you make it through, you know that you can make it through anything, right? It could really be a good opportunity to celebrate how strong your bond is. Venus, as mentioned, is in Taurus, your 6th house, until April 24th. She's in her domicile. She will be helping you get along with colleagues. Again, connecting with colleagues, maybe even dating a colleague. She will make it easier for you to take care of your health. You may be drawn to do physical workouts that have some kind of dance element to them, some kind of creative element to them. And it's overall quite a good transit. You also showing love through practical gestures, like helping your partner fill their car with gas instead of getting them flowers. Just watch out for overindulgence, because sometimes Venus in the 6th house can be like too loose with letting you eat too much cake. Venus enters Gemini, your 7th house of relationships, on April 24th, and until May 18th, blesses you with more understanding, more harmony, more ease in attracting and maintaining connections, not just romantic, but also business and otherwise. It's easier to sign contracts and negotiate. And then Uranus also enters Gemini on April 25th and will stay here until August 2032. So it's a really long transit. We've had a preview of Uranus in Gemini from July 7th until November 7th, 2025. What was that period like for your relationships? Please share. Uranus suggests that you are entering a period in which you are seeking more freedom, more change in your love life, and more unique experiences in people. The more you're aware of this, the more likely you are to invite change. So, you know, Uranus in the 7th could be the time you realize you want to open your marriage, or you want to date people who live in a different city. You were always close to long distance, and now you're like, I'd love to do long distance because then I can do my own thing. If you've been single for a while, Uranus in the 7th could be like, oh, let's try this commitment thing and give that a chance. But there's going to be something unique and different about the way you date. If you're more reserved, let's say deep inside, you do want freedom and an open relationship, but you grew up believing that that is not appropriate, right? That is not what you really want. That is not what's going to fulfill you. Then Uranus and Gemini can surprise you through a partner acting out. I have Uranus in Taurus Taurus. I have a Scorpio rising client, and for her, Uranus in the 7th house was about slowly but surely coming to realize that she wants to be in an open relationship with someone. And she seems to enjoy it right now, even though I'm sure if you had asked her in the beginning, she would have been like, no, that's not what I want. Uranus really just wants you to have freedom and to have kind of more, unique relationships, to do things that feel authentic and truthful to you. Please share how this resonates and visit my website to book a personal reading, register for my classes. I'm teaching a natal course in September, and to book a candle, to get a candle and oil or anything your heart desires. You can also get a subscription to get monthly personal horoscopes from me every month. For Capricorn rising, March brought a lot of attention to your everyday life, your communication, writing skills, schedule. You maybe had to redo, rewrite, rethink your technology, maybe rethink your travel and transport and your schedules. We had Mercury retrograde in Pisces. The lunar eclipse in Virgo in your 9th house could have offered opportunities to let go of outdated beliefs, legal matters, travel, education matters that you've been carrying over from a while ago, and also just rethink your self-criticism, perfectionism, analysis paralysis tendencies, and figure out ways how to, with the 3rd house activation, to just go for it instead of continuously telling yourself that you need to learn more, you need to do more, you're not quite ready. It's a very much like do it type of energy right now. There was a lot of focus on your house of home and family with Venus, the Sun, Saturn, and Neptune in the 4th. You maybe made some improvements, reconnected with family, needed to make some adjustments to your living situation. Jupiter went direct in Cancer, your 7th house, bringing forward momentum to partnerships, relationships, contract negotiations, agreement signing, wedding planning, whatever it is you've been focusing on in your romantic life. And Venus entered Taurus in late March, blessing your relationships even more and really urging you to go in the direction of pleasure and fun. And interestingly enough, this Venus rules the first lunation of the month, the full moon in Libra, your 10th house, on April 1st. And as Venus is in the 5th and you're focused on creative freedom, you want to start your own art gallery, or Venus in the 5th house suggests that you want to date someone you love and maybe you want to move closer to them, or there is a focus on becoming a parent. As Venus really directs you towards personal joy, we get the full moon in Libra in the 10th house, which suggests that your work, your relationships with authority figures, your professional or public responsibility, your public personality is getting transformed, right? Perhaps as you seek to spend more time with your child, the full moon in Libra offers you a chance to talk to your boss and figure out how you can only come to the office twice a week and work remotely, or you quit your job, or let's say you want to start a personal art gallery, a business, whatever it might be. The full moon in Libra would be a chance to let go of a job. Any sort of adjustments, transformations, take a look at what got started in your public professional life around October 21st when we had a new moon in Libra, and think of I think Libra as a 10th house will always suggest that you want work that you enjoy, that is very social, relationship-oriented, creative. But I think this full moon suggests that maybe something needs to be rebalanced professionally, especially if you feel like you're not necessarily enjoying things and something maybe needs to be improved. The focus on your home and family continues. as the Sun is in Aries until April 19th. Mars enters Aries on the 9th to stay until May 18th. Mercury is here from the 14th. Saturn and Neptune are here. The new moon is here on April 17th. So home, family is highlighted for you. You are moving. You are making improvements. You are remodeling. You're traveling to see family. A family member is moving in with you. You're moving in with family. There's a lot of action in the home and family sector. Family can also be your chosen family and people who make you feel secure and loved. There are a little bit of confusion and obstacles here, especially between April 9th and April 9th, now we're going back, April 9th and April 23rd, as Mars conjoins Neptune and Saturn, and Mercury also conjoins Neptune and Saturn and conjoins Mars. There may be a sense of family obligations weigh you down. You don't quite agree with family members. There may be some uncertainty about your living situation, and all of that can result in conflicts and sort of frustration. Of course, the new moon and the Mars-Saturn conjunction suggests that if you compromise, if you move slowly, and if you focus on what's important, you can figure out ways to problem solve and move forward. And you can have new beginnings in the home. There may just be a need to set better boundaries, to speak your truth, to figure out how to not sacrifice yourself too much, especially if Neptune here might be suggesting a tendency to be like a savior for people who don't want to be saved. I love Venus in Taurus until April 24th. The Sun also enters Taurus on the 19th of the month and stays until May 20th. Venus rules Taurus, so she's great there. She is in her joy in your 5th house, which is what Taurus is. So it's like double empowered Venus. Especially on April 13th, if you're 3 days before, 3 days after, if you're looking to meet someone new, go out, dress up, look your best. They might approach you. If you're in a relationship and you're looking to have a child, this could be a really fertile time for you to start trying. Creative partnerships may blossom. Inspiration may find you. Joy from nature and connecting with nature is also possible. Venus enters Gemini on April 24th to stay for about 3 weeks. Uranus, the biggest shift of the month, enters Gemini on April 25th to stay for 6.5 years. So Venus in the 6th is this sort of shorter term, sweet transit of you're finding more joy in the everyday, you're connecting with your colleagues, you're getting along with people, you're maybe spending more time with animals, you're showing love through these practical gestures, and maybe even dating someone you work with. Uranus in Gemini is a bigger fish to look at. We've had a preview of Uranus in Gemini between July 7th, November 7th last year. Uranus wants to liberate you. It wants to free you. It wants to inspire you. And in the 6th house, any work situation that feels frustrating, any project that feels heavy and difficult, any habit that is sort of unhealthy, Uranus will offer you a chance to release that. Uranus will be maybe, it can even show up as like a weird sudden health issue that makes you realize that you should maybe, let's say you get like a rash and through that you realize that the material you're wearing is actually not good for you. And so through that you learn about sourcing out better fabrics, and you may even get inspired to start your own store perhaps and sell your own clothes. But I think Uranus will make sure to free you from unhealthy work situations, unhealthy relationships, and offer opportunities to have more freedom in your everyday life, and maybe even explore unique healing methods, unique habits, and unique practices that offer you more freedom in your life. Please share how this resonated. How has March been? How has your retrograde been? I feel like it's been one of the worst for me. And visit my website to book a personal reading. You can also book a year ahead reading to talk about how these transits will affect you personally. Consider joining my course. Next one begins in September, and pick up this Exalted Sun candle. If you are an Aquarius rising, March brought a lot of attention to your house of personal wealth and values. During Pisces season, Mercury retrograde maybe encouraged you to pay off some debts, rethink your spending, clear credit card debt. The lunar eclipse in Virgo also offered you an opportunity to examine your financial and other dependencies and figure out which ones are healthy versus which ones are not. There could have also been a lot more focus on stepping up and becoming more of a leader in the dynamic, in a business partnership, in a marriage. And on another hand, focusing on trusting and maybe asking for what you deserve and what you want. Venus, the Sun, Saturn, and Neptune spend a lot of time in Aries, your third house, encouraging you. Like, maybe you've felt like going out more and connecting with siblings more. You maybe have taken some short trips and explored the neighboring towns and connected with people who feel sibling-like. Maybe came up with new passions, new interests, started painting again. And we also had a beautiful Jupiter direct transit, which brought forward momentum and more clarity to your sector of work, health, and service. And Venus, on pretty much at the very end of April, on the 30th, entered Taurus, blessing your home, family, and living situation sector, and like encouraging you to create more stability in the home. April begins with a full moon in Libra. And it's interesting. So there is a full moon in Libra. It brings change, transformation, endings to your house of education, travel, publishing, philosophy, religion. But the ruler is Venus and Taurus in the fourth. And so Venus and Taurus suggest that you're very motivated to take pleasure in your home, to enjoy time, enjoy your house, or live closer to family, or sort of, like have more beauty surround you, maybe create more stability. And so the full moon in Libra in the 9th might suggest that a certain chapter is reaching an end in regards to where you live. Take a look at what got started in October 2025 when we had a new moon in Libra. It could have been the beginning of what is now coming full circle. Maybe you work as a travel nurse, and in October you came to live in Las Vegas and now you're going back. But there may be, the full moon in Libra will offer you a chance to shed away, let go of outdated beliefs that maybe your family has brought you up with, but you feel like they no longer align with you. It can offer you a chance to move. It can offer you a chance to complete some legal matter that maybe involves property or real estate. Foreign lands, matters that involve foreign lands and property you have in a different place, maybe wrapping up and coming full circle. As well as for some, this could be a chance to complete writing a novel. Maybe that was inspired by your home in childhood and early life. So do share if you remember what October brought when we had the beginning of this cycle. There is a lot of action in Aries all month. The most powerful transit is probably Mars entering Aries between April 9th and May 18th. And this is your third house. So it suggests that you are really busy right now. You're social, there is more messages, more phone calls, more people to see. Your mind is really busy, so keep a notebook nearby to write down the ideas that come to you, because it could be quite an empowered time for your thinking. You're maybe spending more time with siblings, your schedule is sort of packed. The new moon here on the 17th of April suggests that there are new beginnings in your relationships, in your skills, in your business. Something in your everyday life is changing and you're taking risks. However, between April 9th and April 23rd, we have a more difficult Mars, Mercury, Neptune, Saturn conjunction perfecting. And there might be a suggestion that there is some confusion, that there's some obstacles that you first have to clear. Let's say this is about starting your own business, and Mars conjoins Neptune, and you realize that you would need to start an LLC and make things official. And then Mars conjoins Saturn, and you realize that starting an LLC means advertising in newspapers, and that's going to cost you a bunch of money. And so maybe there are some obstacles and tension and uncertainty of like how exactly will you problem solve this. But that doesn't mean that it's an absolute no, right? It doesn't mean that you cannot accomplish these things. It just means that maybe you need to go back to the drawing board and rethink things. And in the process, watch out for sort of harsh speech and difficult conversations and just being too unapologetic and just saying hurtful things, especially around the 20th, as there is this Mercury-Saturn-Mars conjunction, because it's kind of a sign of like cutting cold words that can be exchanged. Give it 2 days on each side and be mindful. Venus is in her domicile in Taurus until April 24th, as mentioned, blessing your home, family, living situation, really offering you a chance to manifest the place that your heart desires, the house of your dreams potentially. And the Sun is also here between April 19th and May 20th. I really like April 13th as Venus sextiles Jupiter, 3 days before, 3 days after. With Jupiter in your 6th house, this could be a great time for any kind of DIY projects, home improvement, or maybe even, you know, like if anyone in the family is sick, they might recover around this time and start feeling better. Venus enters Gemini, her house Joy, your 5th house, on April 24th for about 3 weeks. And Venus here is lovely for new relationships, for existing relationships, for creative inspiration, for experimentation in the bedroom. She just wants to have fun, and she's very sapiosexual, so you might be drawn to all the kinds of people. All the, you know, Venus doesn't want to necessarily be like restricted when she's in Gemini. The biggest transit of the month is Uranus entering Gemini on April 25th to stay for about 7 years. Uranus here is a revolution in your way of looking at pleasure. It creates, you know, like it wants you to have freedom. And so sometimes that might change your relationship dynamic. If you've been in a relationship that felt really restrictive and controlling, Uranus here can encourage you to break away from it. It can also encourage you to be honest and experiment in relationships, to sort of try new things, to look for passions that excite you. It could be quite a fun one, especially in terms of like exploring what makes you happy. We've had a preview of this between July 7th and November 7th, and I'm really curious to see how that played out for you and how, you know, this might be coming back around again. Maybe you've discovered passion for astrology. And if that's the case, join my natal class. We begin in September. You can also visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book a reading, to talk about these transits and what they mean for you, to pick up my candles, Exalted Sun, highly recommend, or to become a subscriber. Check out the website for all the exciting offerings. If you are the lovely, beautiful Pisces rising, March brought a lot of questions around your identity, as you perhaps struggle to find some time for yourself, dealt with any health matters, dealt with any insecurity or sadness. We've had Mercury retrograde, could have meant an identity crisis. The lunar eclipse in Virgo highlighted relationship matters and could have brought powerful transformations in relationships, partnerships, and agreements. There was also a lot of focus on wealth and stability and self-worth and values during Aries season, and Venus being in Aries most of the month. And Jupiter went direct, your chart ruler, stationed direct on the 10th of March, bringing overall more of a sense of like inner coherence, because Jupiter really wants to find balance, and encouraging more forward momentum in your relationships, in your creative projects, maybe even making it more clear for you what joy is and what is worth your time. And Venus also just 2 days before the end of March entered Taurus, your third house and her home sign, blessing relationships with siblings, encouraging more charming communication, encouraging you to learn new things and to have more fun in the neighborhood. As the spring started, you maybe felt more excited and empowered to go out there and connect with people around you, maybe even date a neighbor. Could be. In April begins with the full moon in Libra, your 8th house, on the 1st of the month. It completes the chapter started on October 21st, 2025, when we had a new moon in Libra, and brings changes to your partner's finances. It brings an opportunity to pay off any debts, to let go of obligations and agreements that do not serve you, and to potentially commit to new things like a new relationship, even a new credit card, a new insurance agreement, right? A new financial strategy. The ruler is Venus and Taurus in the 3rd house. She really helps you negotiate things. She maybe urges you to have, I think Venus in the 3rd really suggests that like you want to have more freedom to live wherever you want to live, or to do whatever you want to do, and just like have more joy as part of your everyday life instead of just the grind and the problem solving. And so the full moon in Libra will be like, which partnerships, agreements, situations align with these values and which ones do not. And so through that, there may be some compromises that you need to make. The sun is in Aries until the 19th. Mars enters on April 9th to stay until May 18th, and Mercury is here from the middle of the month. All of that is activating your 2nd house of money and values. We also have a new moon here on April 17th. And so a lot of focus on making more money, spending more money. You're maybe making some, spending some. There could be, with the 2nd house transits, there's often a sense of like a crisis gets followed by an opportunity gets followed by a sudden need to spend a bunch of money. The one thing is for sure though, Saturn and Neptune are still here, right? So they will be here forever, but at this point it's still a pretty brand new energy. I don't mean forever. Saturn for 2 years, Neptune for 13 years, quite a long time. And so Mars, which is in its home sign in Aries and generally supposed to be a sign of you being quite brave and assertive and speaking up for yourself, will have to contend with Neptune and Saturn. And Mercury will have to conjoin Mars, Neptune, and Saturn. So there might be some confusion in regards to spending and earnings. There may be some obstacles, like you ask for a raise, but you're being told that at some point in the future and it's not clear, and suddenly you realize that you have a big payment coming up. You're maybe buying something big, and so try to be as direct as possible and as honest as possible. Look for ways to take a step back and find ways to compromise, especially when it comes to finances this month. And even if you find yourself disagreeing about something with people, because 2nd house is your values, and around the 20th of the month, when we have this Mercury Saturn Mars triple conjunction, 4 days before, 4 days after, it could be especially hard to keep your cool, because you may feel like your will is getting restricted, and it may be easy to just like fight and scream at people and kind of, get into arguments. So watch out for that. Venus is in Taurus until April 24th. The sun is here from the 19th of April until May 20th. This is powerful for creative inspiration. You may notice that your encounters with neighbors are extra joyful. You feel drawn to connect with your siblings. Maybe a sibling comes to visit you, or you go to visit them. You may find yourself in a position of a diplomat. You're solving problems for other people. You're helping them negotiate. Especially the 13th of April looks really nice as Venus sextiles Jupiter in your 5th house. Maybe you meet a neighbor and you're like, hey, hey, maybe you decide to start dating a neighbor. There could be a romantic connection with the neighbor for sure. And we also have Venus. So Venus enters Gemini, your 4th house, on April 24th and stays here until May 18th. Venus here is a good transit for improving your home, for painting walls, hanging up art, right? Changing your bed sheets, buying some candles. Check out my shop. But you know, it's like you're drawn to improve your living situation, and you're also drawn to connect with family. The biggest transit of the month, saving the best for last, occurs as Uranus enters Gemini on April 25th to stay for close to 7 years. Well, it's at this point it's kind of 6.5, but we had a preview of it last year between July 7th and November 7th. So what was that period like for you? Uranus is entering your 4th house, and Uranus in the 4th can suggest that you feel ready to break away from outdated family dynamics, break away from your hometown. You may be feeling ready to move, break away from your old idea of comfort. Uranus can bring sudden changes, right? It can bring sudden opportunities to move. It could bring sudden revelations and maybe realizations about your past, about your early life. Yeah, Uranus here could be quite interesting because maybe it will give you, I think the more flexible you are, the more willing you are to embrace change, the better Uranus will show up. Like if you're willing to move, or if you're willing to have some kind of unique living arrangement, or if you're willing to look at your family life more closely and your relationship with your family more closely, and if you're willing to make the changes, then this will be a very personally, you initiate this transit instead of this transit finds and surprises you. But if you're a little bit more stuck in your ways, then there may be sudden shifts in the family, sudden developments to the life of the parents or the life of the family members that might surprise you. Don't imagine the worst case scenario. This is more about liberating you from what doesn't serve you. And of course, if you have a family member that, like, Uranus can be about a family member that's like not doing so well, passing away. But just Uranus alone is not enough. There need to be other things. Share how this resonates and visit my website to book a reading, become a subscriber, join my classes, and pick up any of the candles products you like. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you had a beautiful March, and I hope April is enjoyable. I think definitely having Venus in Taurus until the 24th is going to support us through some of the more frustrating aspects. And if anything, Venus and Taurus season are both quite good for taking it slow and steady. So enjoy, and I'll see you soon.